After years of being belittled by her former in-laws and losing herself in a loveless marriage, Jenna attends an event that could have crushed her completely. But instead, she finds her voice, stands up for herself, and unexpectedly crosses paths with someone who sees her true value. 6 months before the night everything changed, Jenna sat in a quiet lawyer's office with a pen trembling between her fingers. The room felt too still, the kind of stillness that made the air heavy. On the table in front of her lay a stack of divorce documents, 5 years of marriage reduced to a few printed pages. She signed them because holding on had become more painful than letting go. Her marriage to Tyler had begun with charm and hope. They met at a corporate networking event where everyone pretended to be more confident than they were. Tyler had an easy smile, the kind that made strangers feel comfortable. He was ambitious, polished, and surprisingly funny. He seemed to really see her, and in those early months, Jenna thought she had found something permanent. But from the beginning, there was a shadow in their relationship, a shadow in pearls and a designer coat, with opinions sharper than her manicured nails. Her name was Patricia. Tyler's mother. Patricia was the kind of woman who spoke in compliments that somehow landed like insults. She would glance over Jenna's outfits and say things like, "Oh, that's bold," with a smile that never reached her eyes. She would touch Jenna's hair without asking and remark, "It's different," as if she were examining something unusual. During family dinners, Patricia loved bringing up Tyler's ex-girlfriend, the one who came from the right family, the one who fit seamlessly into their social circles. She spoke about the girl as though she had been the lost princess of their kingdom, and Jenna was merely a visitor passing through. Jenna tried, truly tried, to win Patricia over. She attended every family gathering. She dressed according to Patricia's unspoken rules. She even took etiquette classes because Tyler suggested it might make things easier. But Patricia had already made up her mind. The final straw came one afternoon when Jenna overheard Patricia speaking on the phone. Patricia didn't know Jenna was in the next room when she said, "Tyler is just going through a phase. He'll eventually come to his senses." To Patricia, Jenna was a mistake waiting to be corrected. When Jenna told Tyler what she heard, he didn't defend her. He defended his mother. "You're reading too much into it," he said. "She means well. Maybe try harder." Something inside Jenna broke that day, not loudly, but quietly, the kind of break that tells a person they have reached their limit. She packed her things, hired a lawyer, and left the marriage behind. She didn't leave with much, but she left with her dignity. The months after the divorce were not easy. Jenna cried more than she cared to admit. She spent hours on therapy couches trying to understand how she had allowed herself to shrink for so long. Her best friend, Terry, offered late-night cups of tea and a living room sofa whenever she needed it. But slowly, Jenna began rebuilding. She threw herself into her work as a marketing consultant, and her talent became impossible to ignore. She landed major clients, increased her rates, and found herself creating the kind of life she'd once only imagined. It wasn't perfect, but it was hers, and it was peaceful. Then one afternoon, a forwarded envelope arrived at her new apartment. Inside was an invitation. Tyler was getting engaged. The celebration was to be held at Riverside Crest Country Club, the kind of place where even the air felt expensive. His fiancée's name was Chloe, and Jenna recognized it immediately. Patricia had spoken glowingly about Chloe before, her background, her family, her proper fit. Terry nearly fell out of her chair when Jenna said she was planning to go. "Why would you put yourself in that room again?" she asked. Jenna didn't know how to answer at first, but deep down, she understood. She needed closure, not from Tyler or Patricia, but from the version of herself who once felt small in their presence. She needed to walk into a space that once hurt her and prove, at least to herself, that she was no longer the same woman. So she prepared. She bought a deep emerald dress that made her feel powerful. She got her hair done. Her nails done. She stood in front of her mirror the night before the event and didn't see a woman who had been broken, she saw a woman who had survived. On the night of the engagement party, Jenna drove up to Riverside Crest Country Club with her heart pounding. The building rose above the gardens like something from a classic film, white columns, glowing lanterns, perfectly trimmed hedges. Valets moved with practiced elegance, and guests walked up the steps in expensive clothing, surrounded by murmurs of soft laughter and classical music drifting into the night. Jenna paused in her car for a moment, breathing deeply. "You're not the same woman anymore," she whispered to herself. "You can do this." She stepped out, lifted her chin, and walked toward the entrance. And that's when she saw her. Patricia. Standing by the doorway with two friends, holding a champagne glass and laughing. The moment she noticed Jenna, her expression shifted, surprise, then irritation, then the familiar tight smile she used like a weapon. Patricia approached her with her friends trailing behind like an entourage. "Jenna," Patricia said, slowly looking her up and down. "I'm surprised you had the nerve to show your face here." Her voice was loud enough for nearby guests to hear. Jenna forced a polite smile. "Good evening." But Patricia wasn't done. She began asking questions that weren't really questions, just attempts to humiliate. "How's your little consulting thing? Still managing? And where are you living now? Something affordable, I assume?" Her friends smirked. Guests nearby pretended not to listen while very clearly listening. Then Patricia leaned in, lowering her voice but sharpening her tone. "You never really belonged in our family. Some people just don't fit in certain spaces." She paused, then delivered the final blow. "I hope you've finally found where you do belong." The laughter that followed wasn't loud, but it was enough to sting. Jenna felt her throat tighten, her eyes burn, but she refused to let a single tear fall. She excused herself and walked toward the terrace, needing air, needing space, needing a moment to remember the strength she'd fought so hard to build. Out in the quiet of the garden, she took several steady breaths. She reminded herself that she had survived worse moments than this, that she was standing there, alone but whole, because she chose herself. For a moment, she considered leaving. Maybe she had nothing left to prove. Maybe the whole thing was a mistake. But just as she turned back toward the exit, a sudden wave of murmurs rose from inside the club. People were whispering, gasping, shifting. Something had changed in the room. Jenna walked back into the main hall, unaware that this moment, this exact moment, was about to rewrite everything she thought she knew about her life. Because standing at the entrance, commanding the attention of the entire room, was Cole Maddox, a man whose presence alone could stop conversations mid-sentence. And he had just locked eyes with her. The room shifted the moment Cole Maddox walked in. People straightened their clothes. Waiters paused. Conversations softened. Even the clinking glasses seemed to quiet themselves. Cole had that effect, both unintentional and unavoidable. It wasn't just that he was wealthy. It was the calm confidence he carried, the rare kind that didn't need to announce itself. But out of everyone in that glittering hall, his eyes found only one person. Jenna. Standing alone near the terrace entrance, trying not to look shaken. Cole had seen her before, weeks earlier, during a charity event, where she'd been presenting a pitch for one of her consulting clients. She didn't know this, but he remembered her clearly. The clarity in her voice, the quiet strength in her presence. She didn't try to impress anyone, yet she stood out. And now, seeing her surrounded by people who didn't deserve her softness, something in Cole hardened. He walked toward her. Not rushed, not hesitant, purposeful. People parted without him asking. Heads turned. Even Patricia paused mid-sentence, suddenly aware that the most influential man in the room was heading in Jenna's direction. Jenna blinked, startled when Cole finally reached her. "Evening," he said gently. "I wasn't expecting to see you here." She swallowed, still steady. "I wasn't expecting to be here either." Cole followed her gaze, noticing the stiffness in her shoulders, the tension in her eyes, the way she subtly avoided looking at Patricia. He didn't need the details. He already understood. "Do you want to take a walk?" he asked quietly. Jenna hesitated, then nodded. They stepped onto the terrace where the cold night air wrapped around them like a calming blanket. The sky above the gardens shimmered with soft lights, and distant laughter drifted from inside. For a moment, they didn't talk. They simply breathed. Then Cole spoke. "I saw what just happened," he said. "I didn't hear the words, but I saw the way they looked at you. If you need a reason to leave, I'll give you one. But if you want a reason to stay, I can give you that too." Jenna let out a soft, shaky laugh. "I don't know why I came. It feels like I walked straight into a trap." No, Cole said. You walked into a place that wasn't built to hold someone like you. There's a difference. Jenna looked up at him, surprised by the gentleness in his tone. She didn't know this man well, but his words didn't feel calculated. They felt sincere. They stood in quiet understanding for a moment. Then the doors behind them swung open. Tyler. His expression tightened the second he saw Jenna standing beside Cole. Chloe and Patricia followed, their faces filled with curiosity, annoyance, and something Jenna couldn't place. Tyler stepped forward. Jenna? What's this? Jenna's heart pounded, but she didn't back away. Not this time. Cole didn't move either. But his posture changed slightly, a subtle shift of protection Jenna didn't expect. Tyler's voice sharpened. Why are you talking to him? Cole raised an eyebrow. I wasn't aware Jenna needed your permission to breathe. Chloe crossed her arms. Tyler, let's go. This is embarrassing. Patricia scowled, eyes scanning Jenna like she was something stuck to her shoe. I told you she would start drama. She always does. Jenna inhaled deeply. That was it. That was the moment she realized she didn't come for closure, she came to understand that she no longer needed it. She looked straight at Patricia. Then at Tyler. Then Chloe. With a steady voice, she said. I'm not here for you. I'm not here to prove anything. I came because I wanted to see if I still felt small around you. And now I know, I don't. Tyler stiffened. Chloe blinked. Patricia's jaw tightened. Cole watched her with quiet pride. Jenna continued, the only people who should feel embarrassed here are the ones who think cruelty is a personality trait. A ripple went through the small crowd that had gathered. Then Patricia snapped, unable to hold back, you never belonged with us, Jenna. Before Jenna could respond, Cole spoke, calm, firm, but carrying the weight of 1,000 eyes. She never belonged with you, he said. Because she deserves better than people who measure worth by their last name. Patricia's face went pale. Tyler's mouth fell open. And Chloe looked suddenly, very visibly, uncomfortable. Jenna exhaled softly. It was the first true breath she'd taken all evening. She turned toward Cole. Thank you. Anytime, he said. Inside the hall, guests began returning to their conversations, though many still stole glances at Jenna with a newfound respect. It was strange, the room hadn't changed, but her place in it had. She didn't stay much longer. As she prepared to leave, Cole walked beside her toward the exit. You know, he said quietly, anyone who can stand up to people like that, deserves to stand somewhere better. Jenna smiled faintly. Someday, maybe. Cole looked at her with a hint of something warm, something intentional. Someday can start whenever you're ready. Jenna didn't know what he meant, not yet, but the sincerity in his voice felt like a door opening. She stepped outside, breathed the cool night air, and felt lighter than she had in a long time. Jenna had walked into Riverside Crest to close an old wound. She walked out with something entirely different. Her self-worth. Her voice. And a new beginning she never saw coming. 6 weeks passed, and Jenna's life looked nothing like it did before. She was busier than ever with new clients. Her consulting work flourished. Clients recommended her left and right. Money wasn't overflowing, but for the first time, she wasn't surviving, she was living. And then one afternoon, she got a call. From Cole. Can we meet? He asked. I want to discuss something with you. She agreed. They met at a quiet outdoor cafe overlooking Riverside Creek, neutral ground, warm sunlight, soft breeze. Cole arrived with a folder tucked under his arm. I've been working on a new community initiative, he said. A program for women rebuilding after divorce or financial hardship. Jenna leaned in, intrigued. I want you to help lead it, Cole continued. Not because of what happened that night, but because you understand people, resilience, and growth better than most. Jenna stared at him, stunned. You're offering me a job? I'm offering you a chance to step into something bigger. Jenna felt her throat grow warm. Tears threatened, not from sadness, but from gratitude. This wasn't about rescuing her. It wasn't pity. It was recognition. Belief. She accepted. Not just the job, the new version of herself. In the months that followed, the program grew. Women signed up, found support, built new lives. Jenna became the heart of it, the voice that turned fear into direction. And Cole? He became someone steady in her life. Not rushed. Not romanticized. Just present. Supportive. Honest. A calm strength she wasn't used to but was learning to trust. They didn't label anything yet, and neither felt the need to. Life wasn't a race. Not anymore. But everyone who saw them together noticed one thing. They walked side by side. Equal. Respectful. Warm. Gentle. And Jenna, the woman who once waited for someone else's approval, now lived a life she chose every single day. A life of dignity. A life of purpose. A life of peace. The night she walked into Riverside Crest, she thought she came to face her past. Instead, she walked into her future. And this time, she belonged.